Story 1. I work as an event coordinator for Metro State University, and I've been organizing graduation ceremonies for the past 5 years. You'd think after coordinating dozens of these events, I'd have seen every possible disruption from drunk relatives to protesters to weather emergencies. But nothing prepared me for what happened at our spring graduation ceremony last month. The job requires months of planning. We coordinate with faculty, arrange seating for thousands of family members, manage parking, and ensure everything runs smoothly for one of the most important days in our students' lives. This particular ceremony was for our College of Engineering, with about 400 graduates receiving their degrees. I arrived at the outdoor amphitheater at 6 a.m. to oversee setup. The ceremony was scheduled to start at 10 a.m., and we had a tight timeline. Sound equipment, staging, processional coordination, security briefings, everything had to be perfect. Our graduates had worked years for this moment, and their families traveled from across the country to watch them walk across that stage. Around 9:30 a.m., as families were taking their seats, I noticed a woman arguing loudly with our volunteer ushers near the VIP seating section. She had a young boy with her, maybe 10 years old, who looked embarrassed and was tugging on her sleeve trying to get her to quiet down. "Karen, I specifically told you people on the phone that my son needs to be seated in the front row. He's not just any child, he's a gifted genius who deserves special recognition." Usher: "Ma'am, the front section is reserved for faculty and family members of graduates. Your general admission tickets are for the main seating area, which has excellent views of the stage." "Karen, you don't understand. My son just completed an advanced online mathematics course. He's operating at a college level. He should be sitting with the other intellectuals." I walked over to help resolve the situation. "Me, good morning. I'm the event coordinator. Is there something I can help you with?" Karen: "Finally, someone in charge. This usher is being completely unreasonable. My son is a certified genius who just finished college-level coursework. He deserves to be recognized at this ceremony." Me: "That's wonderful that your son is doing well academically. However, this graduation ceremony is specifically for students who have completed degree programs at our university. The seating arrangements are based on ticket types." Karen: "But he finished a college course. Online, but still college level. Surely that qualifies him for some kind of acknowledgement." The boy looked mortified and whispered something to his mother, but she ignored him. Me: "I appreciate his academic achievements, but today's ceremony is for our enrolled students who have completed full degree programs. I'd be happy to help you find your seats in the main section." Karen: "This is discrimination. My son worked just as hard as these other students. I could see this wasn't going to be resolved easily, but the ceremony needed to start on time. I escorted them to their assigned seats and radioed security to keep an eye on the situation. The processional began perfectly. Our students looked proud and excited as they filed into their seats in their caps and gowns. Family members were taking photos and videos. The atmosphere was celebratory and emotional. I was stationed at the side of the stage, coordinating with the dean and professors about the order of speakers. Dean Martinez was giving his opening remarks when I heard shouting from the audience. Karen: excuse me, you forgot someone." She was standing up in her seat, waving her hand frantically. The dean paused, looking confused. Dean Martinez: "Ma'am, if you have a concern, please speak with event staff after the ceremony." Karen: "My son deserves to be up there. He completed college coursework too." People around her started shushing her and telling her to sit down. I could see the boy next to her covering his face with his hands. Dean Martinez: "This ceremony is for students who have completed degree programs at Metro State University. Please hold your questions until after we conclude." He tried to continue his speech, but Karen wasn't done. Karen: "That's not fair. Just because he's young doesn't mean his achievements don't count." She actually started walking toward the stage. I immediately radioed security and started moving to intercept her. Me: "Ma'am, you need to return to your seat immediately." Karen: "I demand to speak to whoever is in charge." My son finished a calculus course online. That's college-level work. Me. This is not the appropriate time or place for this discussion. Please return to your seat so the ceremony can continue. Karen. No, I paid for parking. I drove 2 hours to get here. My son deserves recognition. By now, she had reached the edge of the stage area. The graduates were looking around confused. Some parents were standing up to see what was happening, and the dean was just staring in disbelief. Karen, which one of you is in charge? My son completed college coursework and should be walking across this stage. Professor Johnson, who teaches mathematics and was helping with the ceremony, stepped forward calmly. Professor Johnson, ma'am, I understand you're proud of your son's academic work. However, this ceremony is specifically for students who have completed full degree programs requiring 120 credit hours of coursework over multiple years. Karen, that's elitist. Just because traditional students take longer doesn't mean they're smarter than my gifted son. Professor Johnson, nobody is questioning your son's intelligence. But completing one online course, regardless of the level, does not constitute earning a college degree. Karen, he's 10 years old and doing calculus. That's more impressive than anything these students have done. The crowd was getting restless. I could hear people muttering angrily about the delay. Some graduates' family members had flown in from other countries for this moment, and this woman was disrupting one of the most important days of their lives. Professor Johnson maintained his calm demeanor. Professor Johnson, your son's achievements are commendable for his age. However, this ceremony honors students who have completed comprehensive degree programs that include not just coursework, but research, internships, and years of dedication to their field of study. Karen, that's discrimination against gifted children. I want him to walk across the stage right now. She actually tried to lift her son up onto the stage platform. The poor kid was mortified and trying to pull away from her. Boy, Mom, please stop. I just want to go home. Karen, don't be modest. Tell them about your online course. Boy, Mom, it was just one class. These people went to college for 4 years. That's when Karen really lost it. Karen, don't you dare downplay your achievements. You're smarter than all of these average students. You deserve to be up there more than they do. The entire amphitheater had gone silent except for her shouting. Hundreds of graduates and thousands of family members were watching this woman have a complete meltdown while her embarrassed child tried to hide behind her. Professor Johnson's voice cut through her ranting, still calm, but now with clear authority. Professor Johnson, ma'am, you are disrupting a sacred ceremony for students and families who have waited years for this moment. If you do not return to your seat immediately, campus police will escort you from the premises. Karen, you can't throw me out. I have every right to be here. My son is a genius. Professor Johnson, you have the right to attend as a spectator. You do not have the right to disrupt the ceremony and delay the recognition these students have earned through years of hard work. Karen, this is ridiculous. I'm calling the media. I'm calling the school board. This is discrimination against gifted children. That's when I saw campus security approaching from both sides of the amphitheater. Professor Johnson had clearly signaled them. Professor Johnson, this is your final warning. Please return to your seat, or you will be removed from campus. Karen, I'm not going anywhere until my son gets the recognition he deserves. 2 campus police officers reached her position. Officer, ma'am, you're disrupting a university event. You need to leave the premises immediately. Karen, I'm not leaving. This is America. I have rights. Officer, you have the right to attend public events, but not to disrupt them. You can leave voluntarily, or we can escort you out. Karen, this is outrageous. My son is more accomplished than any of these mediocre students. The officers started guiding her toward the exit. That's when something beautiful happened. The entire crowd, graduates, families, faculty burst into spontaneous applause. Not mocking applause, but relieved, supportive applause for the officers removing the disruption. Karen, you're all jealous of my son's abilities. He's going to be more successful than any of your average children." As she was being escorted out, still shouting, her son looked back with the most apologetic expression. Several people near their original seats gave him sympathetic looks. One grandmother actually patted his shoulder and whispered something kind to him as he passed. Professor Johnson returned to the podium once she was removed. "Professor Johnson, ladies and gentlemen, let's continue celebrating the remarkable achievements of our graduates, who have demonstrated not only academic excellence, but also the perseverance and dedication required to earn their degrees." The crowd applauded again, and the ceremony continued, but the energy had shifted. Everyone seemed more appreciative of the actual graduates, more aware of how much work and time had gone into reaching this moment. After the ceremony, several parents approached me to express sympathy for having to deal with that situation. One father, whose daughter had just received her engineering degree, put it perfectly. "Father, I can't imagine being so delusional about my child's achievements that I'd try to hijack someone else's graduation ceremony. That poor kid is going to need therapy." We found out later that Karen had called the university several times over the past month, demanding that her son be included in the ceremony. The administrative staff had explained repeatedly that graduation was only for enrolled students who completed degree programs, but she kept insisting her son's online course qualified him. She apparently tried to contact local news stations about discrimination against gifted children, but no one picked up the story. Several parents who witnessed the incident posted about it on social media, and the general consensus was sympathy for her embarrassed son and admiration for how professionally our staff handled the disruption. The boy actually sent a handwritten letter to Professor Johnson a week later, apologizing for his mother's behavior and thanking him for being kind during the incident. Professor Johnson shared it with our staff, and there wasn't a dry eye in the room. The whole incident reminded me why I love working in higher education. Yes, we deal with difficult people sometimes, but ultimately we're celebrating real achievements that students have worked years to accomplish. Karen thought completing one online course entitled her son to the same recognition as students who dedicated 4 years of their lives to earning degrees. Her son seemed to understand the difference, even if she didn't. I hope he remembers that day as a lesson about humility and respecting other people's achievements, rather than his mother's failed attempt to steal someone else's spotlight. Story 2. I've been working road construction for 15 years, and I've seen my share of angry residents. People don't like the noise, the dust, or having their daily routines disrupted. Most folks understand that road maintenance is necessary, even if they grumble about it. But every once in a while, you encounter someone who thinks the entire world should revolve around their personal convenience. Our crew was scheduled to repave a residential street that had been deteriorating for months. The city had sent notices to all the residents 2 weeks in advance, explaining the work schedule and asking people to move their cars off the street during construction hours. We always try to minimize disruption, but repaving is loud work, there's no way around it. We arrived at 7 a.m. sharp, which is standard for construction projects. Early morning work means we can get more done before the heat of the day, and it's usually when there's less traffic. We set up our equipment, put out all the proper safety cones and signs, and got to work. The first few hours went smoothly. A couple of residents came out to ask questions about the timeline, and one elderly gentleman even brought us bottles of water. This is the kind of community cooperation that makes our job easier. Around 10 a.m., we were preparing to pour concrete for a section of curb repair when a woman came storming out of a house about halfway down the block. She was wearing yoga pants and a tank top, and she looked absolutely furious. "Karen, stop. You need to stop this right now." I was operating the concrete mixer at the time, but I shut it down to see what the emergency was. In construction, when someone yells, "Stop," you listen. It could be a safety issue. Me, "What's the problem, ma'am?" Karen, "The problem is that I'm trying to do my morning yoga, and you people are making way too much noise." I looked at my watch. It was 10:15 a.m. on a Wednesday, well past the time when noise ordinances typically apply. Me, ma'am, we're working within permitted hours. The city sent notices about this construction project. Karen, I don't care about your permits. I work from home, and I need peace and quiet for my wellness routine. My foreman walked over to see what was happening. He's been in construction for over 20 years and has a way of staying calm even when dealing with difficult people. Foreman, ma'am, I understand the noise is disruptive, but we're doing necessary road repairs. We'll be finished with this section by the end of the week. Karen, a week? Absolutely not. I'm not dealing with this racket for a week. Foreman, the city approved this project months ago. All residents received advance notice. Karen, well, I didn't get any notice, and even if I did, I wouldn't have agreed to it. She actually said that with a straight face, like individual residents get to veto city infrastructure projects. Karen, you need to pack up your equipment and leave. Come back when I'm not home. Foreman, ma'am, that's not how this works. We have a schedule to maintain, and we can't work around individual residents' personal schedules. Karen, then I'll make sure you can't work at all. She stormed back into her house, and we thought that was the end of it. We got back to work, but about 10 minutes later, she came back outside and got into her car. Instead of driving away, she positioned her silver sedan diagonally across the street, directly blocking the path our cement truck needed to take to reach the work site. The cement truck was already on its way. I could see it coming down the street. Concrete has a limited working time once it's mixed, so timing is crucial. Me, ma'am, you need to move your car immediately. We have a cement truck coming. Karen, I'm not moving until you agree to stop this construction. Foreman, ma'am, you're blocking a public roadway and interfering with permitted city work. Karen, I don't care. I pay taxes, and I have rights. The cement truck had to stop about 50 feet away because there was no way to get around her car. The driver honked his horn, but Karen just sat there with her arms crossed. Cement truck driver, how long is this going to take? This load is going to start setting up soon. Foreman, ma'am, this is your last warning. Move your vehicle or we'll have it moved for you. Karen, you can't touch my car. That's illegal. Foreman, actually, obstructing a construction zone is illegal. You're interfering with public works. He pulled out his phone and called the city inspector's office. In situations like this, we're required to document any interference with permitted work. While we waited for the inspector, Karen got out of her car and started lecturing us about noise pollution and how our work was affecting her mental health and spiritual well-being. Karen, do you have any idea how important my morning routine is? I have a very stressful job, and yoga is the only thing that keeps me centered. Me, what kind of work do you do? Karen, I'm a life coach. I help people find balance and peace in their lives. The irony was not lost on any of us. Here was someone who supposedly helped people find balance, having a complete meltdown over normal construction noise. Karen, my clients depend on me to be in the right headspace, and your noise is completely ruining my energy. Foreman, ma'am, we understand this is inconvenient, but road maintenance is essential city work. We have deadlines to meet. Karen, I don't care about your deadlines. What about my deadlines? I have 3 client calls this afternoon. The city inspector arrived about 20 minutes later. By then, the concrete in the truck was starting to thicken, and we were in danger of having to waste the entire load. Inspector, what's the situation here? Foreman, this resident has parked her vehicle to block our cement truck. We're on a tight timeline with this concrete. The inspector looked at Karen's car, then at the construction zone signs and permits posted throughout the area. Inspector, ma'am, you're parked in an active construction zone, which is a violation of City Ordinance 47B. You're also obstructing permitted public works. Karen, these people are violating noise ordinances. They're disturbing the peace. Inspector, construction work between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. is permitted under city regulations. Do you have documentation of any noise violations? Karen, I shouldn't need documentation. It's obvious that they're being too loud. The inspector pulled out a decibel meter and took readings from various points around the construction site. All the readings were well within legal limits. Inspector, ma'am, the noise levels are within acceptable parameters for construction work. However, your vehicle is illegally parked in a construction zone, and you're interfering with city operations. Karen, this is harassment. I'm calling my lawyer. Inspector, that's your right, but in the meantime, you need to move your vehicle immediately, or I'll have it towed. Karen, you can't tow my car. I live here. Inspector, ma'am, your residence doesn't give you the right to block public works projects. He started writing up citations while calling for a tow truck. Karen's face went from red to purple. Karen, this is ridiculous. I'm a taxpayer. I pay your salaries. Inspector, yes, ma'am, and those tax dollars fund the road maintenance that you're currently obstructing. The tow truck arrived faster than I expected apparently. They keep trucks on standby for construction zone violations because it's such a common problem. Karen, wait, I'll move it. I'll move my car right now. Inspector, it's too late for that, ma'am. You've already been cited for obstructing public works. The vehicle needs to be removed from the construction zone. Karen, but I live right here. How am I supposed to get to my clients? Inspector, you can retrieve your vehicle from the impound lot after paying the fines and towing fees. As they were hooking up her car, Karen started yelling about how this was all unfair and how she was going to sue the city, the construction company, and probably the concrete manufacturer for good measure. Karen, this is going to cost me thousands in lost business. My clients are expecting me to be available. Foreman, ma'am, you cost yourself that business by choosing to interfere with legal construction work. The tow truck driver was trying to position the car properly on the flatbed when Karen apparently decided she wasn't done making her point. Karen, you people have no respect for residents. No consideration for how your work affects real people's lives. Me, ma'am, we live in this community too. We understand that construction is disruptive, but maintaining infrastructure benefits everyone. Karen, I don't care about infrastructure. I care about my peace and quiet. By the time her car was loaded and driven away, we'd lost almost an hour of work time. The concrete truck had to dump its load because it was no longer usable, which meant we had to order a replacement and adjust our entire schedule. The inspector handed Karen multiple citations: obstructing public works, illegal parking in a construction zone, and interference with city operations. The fines totaled over $800, not including the towing and impound fees. Karen, this is extortion. I'm reporting all of you to the mayor. Inspector, the mayor's office approved this construction project. Ma'am, you're welcome to file a complaint, but you'll need to do it from somewhere other than an active construction zone. After she left, the inspector apologized for the delay and assured us that the city would cover the cost of the wasted concrete since it was due to resident interference. We finished the project 3 days later without any further incidents. Most of the other residents were actually pretty understanding once they saw how unreasonable Karen had been. I heard through the neighborhood grapevine that Karen tried to fight the citations, claiming the city hadn't given proper notice of the construction. But the Postal Service confirmed that notices had been delivered to every address on the street, including hers. She also apparently tried to organize a petition to stop the road work, but couldn't get a single signature from her neighbors. Turns out most people appreciated having their street repaved and weren't interested in supporting someone who'd cost the city money and delayed necessary repairs. The best part came about a month later. Karen had started a blog about her experience, calling it "Fighting City Hall for Your Rights" or something like that. She was trying to position herself as a victim of government overreach. But one of her neighbors had recorded video of the entire incident from their window and posted it online with the caption, "When entitlement meets reality." The video showed Karen screaming at construction workers, illegally blocking the street, and throwing a tantrum while her car was being towed. The video got shared around local social media groups, and the comments were not kind. Most people were pointing out that road maintenance benefits everyone, and that one person's yoga routine doesn't override public safety needs. Her life coaching business apparently took a hit because potential clients could see exactly how she handled stress and conflict. Turns out people don't want life advice from someone who melts down over normal city noise. The road turned out great, by the way, smooth as glass and built to last for years. Sometimes I drive down that street just to admire our work and remember the day someone tried to stop city progress because it interfered with her downward dog pose. Story 3. I moved to the city about 6 months ago for a new job, and one of the first things I had to do was update my driver's license. Anyone who's dealt with the Department of Motor Vehicles knows it's not exactly a fun experience, but it's one of those necessary adulting tasks you can't avoid. My old license was about to expire, and I'd been putting off the trip to the DMV for weeks. Finally, I couldn't delay it anymore. I took a half-day off work on a Thursday, figuring it would be less crowded than a Monday or Friday. I was wrong. When I walked into the DMV at noon, the place was packed. There had to be at least 50 people ahead of me in various lines. I grabbed my number from the machine 247 and looked up at the digital display, showing they were currently serving number 201. I settled in for a long wait. The waiting area was your typical DMV setup: rows of plastic chairs, fluorescent lighting, and that particular smell of government buildings. Most people were either staring at their phones or looking miserable. A few were clearly there with their teenagers getting first licenses, which always makes the lines even longer. I found a seat and pulled out my phone to catch up on emails. That's when she walked in. She breezed through the front door like she owned the place, wearing designer clothes and oversized sunglasses despite being indoors. She didn't even glance at the number machine, just walked straight to the front counter where people were being served. The clerk at window 3 was helping an elderly man with his registration renewal when she appeared. "Karen, excuse me, I need to renew my license immediately." Clerk: "Ma'am, you'll need to take a number and wait in line like everyone else." Karen: "I don't think you understand. I have a celebrity exemption." The clerk looked confused, and honestly, so did everyone else within earshot. Several people looked up from their phones. Clerk: "I'm sorry, what's a celebrity exemption?" Karen: "I'm a local celebrity. I have a blog with over 10,000 followers, and I'm frequently recognized around town. I don't have time to wait in these ridiculous lines with regular people." The clerk was clearly trying to process what she was hearing. Clerk: "Ma'am, we don't have any celebrity exemptions. Everyone needs to take a number and wait their turn." Karen: "That's impossible. Check your computer system. I'm sure there's a VIP process for people like me." Clerk: "There isn't. You need to get a number from the machine by the door." That's when Karen started getting loud. Karen: "This is absolutely ridiculous. Do you know who I am? I have influence in this community. I could shut this place down with one blog post." The elderly man at the counter looked terrified. Other customers were starting to pull out their phones, and I could tell some were already recording. Clerk: "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to lower your voice and follow our standard procedures." Karen: "Standard procedures are for broke people. I pay more in taxes in 1 month than most of these people make in a year." She gestured wildly at the waiting area, and I felt my face get hot with embarrassment for her. Clerk: "Do you have an appointment confirmation?" Karen: "I don't need an appointment. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I have a celebrity exemption." Clerk: "Ma'am, even if we had such a thing, which we don't, you'd still need some kind of documentation." Karen: "The documentation is my face. Everyone in this city knows who I am." At this point, she was practically screaming. The security guard by the door was starting to walk over, and I could see other DMV employees stopping what they were doing to watch. Clerk: "I'm going to have to ask you to step aside and let me help the next customer." Karen: "You are not dismissing me. I demand to speak to your supervisor right now." Clerk: My supervisor will tell you the exact same thing. You need to take a number and wait. That's when Karen completely lost it. She started screaming about discrimination and how she was being treated unfairly because of her status. Then she did something that shocked everyone. She marched over to one of those metal signs that says, "Please wait here," and grabbed it with both hands. "Karen, you want to treat me like a common person? Fine, but I'm not waiting in this dump any longer." She lifted the sign over her head and slammed it down on the floor. The metal base made a loud crash that echoed through the whole building. People jumped up from their seats, and several customers started backing away. That's when the security guard reached her. "Security guard, ma'am, I need you to calm down and step outside with me." "Karen, don't touch me. I'm calling my lawyer. This is harassment." "Security guard, you just destroyed government property. I'm placing you under arrest." "Karen, arrest? For what? I'm the victim here. These people are discriminating against me." But the security guard was already calling for backup on his radio. Within minutes, 2 police officers walked through the front door. The whole time this was happening, I counted at least 6 people filming with their phones. One guy near me was doing a live stream, providing commentary like he was covering a sporting event. "Police officer, what's the situation here?" "Security guard, this woman refused to follow standard procedures, became disruptive, and then destroyed property when asked to leave." "Karen, that's a lie. I simply asked for the celebrity service that I'm entitled to, and they refused to provide it." "Police officer, celebrity service." "Karen, I'm a local influencer. I have rights that regular people don't have." The police officer looked at the damaged sign, then at Karen, then at all the people filming. "Police officer, ma'am, you're under arrest for disorderly conduct and destruction of public property." "Karen, this is insane. You can't arrest me. I'm going to sue everyone in this building." As they put the handcuffs on her, she kept screaming about how she was going to expose the corruption and incompetence of the DMV. She demanded that everyone stop filming her, which of course made people film even more. The whole thing probably lasted about 20 minutes from start to finish. After they took her away, the DMV employees had to clean up the damaged sign and calm everyone down. The clerk at window 3 apologized to the elderly man who had been waiting patiently through the entire drama. "Elderly man, in 78 years, I've never seen anything like that." "Clerk, neither have I, sir. Neither have I." The rest of us went back to waiting, but now everyone was talking about what had just happened. People were already sharing the videos they'd taken. When I finally got called to renew my license about an hour later, the clerk was still shaking her head about the incident. "Clerk, I hope your experience goes more smoothly than our last customer." "Me, I'm pretty sure it will. I actually brought my paperwork, and I'm prepared to wait in line like a normal person." She laughed and processed my renewal without any drama. That evening, I was scrolling through social media when I started seeing the videos pop up. Someone had posted one with the caption, "Karen thinks she's too famous for the DMV," and it already had thousands of views. By the next morning, the story had been picked up by local news stations. They ran it as a human interest piece about entitled behavior, complete with the cell phone footage of her screaming about celebrity exemptions and throwing the sign. The best part was when they interviewed the DMV supervisor, who confirmed that no such thing as a celebrity exemption exists or has ever existed in their system. A week later, I saw a follow-up story about how she'd been sentenced to community service, which included cleaning up public buildings. I couldn't help but wonder if they'd make her clean DMV offices. I never did find out what her blog was about or if she actually had 10,000 followers. But I'm pretty sure her follower count took a hit after becoming the poster child for DMV entitlement. Sometimes when I'm having a bad day, I remember that at least I'm not the person who got arrested for demanding celebrity treatment at the Department of Motor Vehicles. It really puts things in perspective.